I guess that just like, my music had always been something that I kind of used as a refuge. I had a pretty turbulent, like tumultuous childhood. And I realized once I was older that music was one of the only constants in my life, one of the only things that I could consistently go to alleviate whatever, thoughts or issues I might have been having. And the internet rap scene kind of was at this really odd burgeoning point in 2014, 2015, 2016. And I was observing all of it and I really loved it. I was just really in love with this underground scene that was a bunch of really talented young guys and a few girls who were all making really great stuff that was kind of pivotal in the development of music itself, actually, now that we're here in 2020 and I can look back. And anyway, I saw this and I kind of asked myself the question, why don't, if I like this so much and I've always liked music in general and it's always been a part of my life, why don't I try making it? And the first few things I made sucked. And for the first 2 years, I didn't see a single penny from music. But I was just in love with it and I was in love with doing something because my whole life I'd never really, sat down and done anything that I liked. You know what I mean? I had done fine in school and fine and whatever else, but I never really had a passion. And I guess I just got really lucky. And the first thing I tried, I just found it. I really, really, really loved the process and just kind of the struggle. There's an element of struggling. It's the same thing with like studying poker. There's an element of it's almost enjoyable to take those really shitty losing sessions once you're off tilt to reflect on them and be like, yeah, man, I gotta, I gotta just crush it now. So that's kind of how I kind of approached music.
And then how long does that take from generally if you have an idea and you get a song and you come up with it before you like start the first words, the first sort of structure of it to like getting put out on a Spotify, for example, or making a music video?
Right. So I would say, I mean, with that song specifically, I was with my friend Jackie Boy, who produced the song, and he just showed me the beat, and I'm just like, dude, this is a fucking hit, man. So literally the same day, I wrote the whole song, and instead of recording it, I was like, all right. Usually, I immediately will start recording. Like if I've written a song, first I hear a beat, then I make lyrics to the beat based on whatever emotions that evokes out of me, and then I record it, make it, and release it. And actually, that's generally what I've done with a lot of this. I mean, most of the albums I've ever made have been made within the span of like 2 to 3 days. I'll take a long time writing them, but recording them is very fast. But with I Fucked Up, it was, he showed me the beat, and I was just like, yeah, super good. We took it home, went over the lyrics again, made like polished them. I would just run things by him and he'd be like, no, that's kind of corny, or, yeah, that's really good. Next day we go to the studio, we recorded it, I mixed it, and it was just like, it was just done. One of the guys at the studio was like, hey, you should scream in the background. And I'm like, really? And then that ended up kind of making the song what it was. So it was yeah, that was just kind of a really special moment, and I think it translated into being my biggest song. So there's an element of me that's definitely always super happy to see any streams on a song, because I'm just like, wow, people actually care about what I have to say, people are listening. And then the other part of me, it's like this duality of man type thing where I'm pissed that it's not a Billboard multi-platinum hit, right? And I think that's just the way it is. If you're the sort of person that I am, the same way that if you're playing tourneys, that you're better than everyone there, but sometimes you just lose the flip, or I don't know how to translate it exactly into music, but it's just like you always want to get first. You always want to bink the tournament. I always want to bink the songwriting process, but sometimes it doesn't happen. But I will say that, yeah, there is one element in music, I would say, that's just kind of this element of soul or spirit that songs can kind of take on that you don't have any control over at the end of the day, right? The music industry wants to make the biggest songs ever that sell insane amounts of copies. And nowadays it just, you see that all of these huge songs that come up, some of them are orchestrated, right? Like WAP with Cardi B and Megan, right? Like that was an orchestrated thing. But if you take the biggest song that's ever existed, the Lil Nas X Old Town Road song, right? Like the industry would have killed to have this guy's song from the get-go. But this is just a song that organically came up. It hit a moment, you know, it had like the soul of TikTok imbued with it. And that song kind of in and of itself changed the music industry and also made this guy rich for life, and also made some music industry executives some more money. But it's kind of, yeah, there's always this element of unpredictability with how a song's going to be received. So the name Convolk, I guess, was initially it was just Volk, Volk, which means wolf in Russian, which is, I guess, my native tongue. And then I learned that Volk also meant like the people in Nazi Germany, and I was like, oh yeah, maybe not a good idea to just have that. So I added a Spanish suffix, or sorry, Spanish prefix in front of it, con as in with. So I guess it just means like with the wolf, you know, so to speak. But there's always, I guess, been that I've always liked the wolf as like an animal. You know, I've always felt like kind of the lone wolf, kind of the guy to the side, the loner, the outlier, whatever. And yeah, it's just, I guess it's a name that just resonated with me, and also wasn't, you know, it's not a name where if your name's like, you know, cabinet door handle, if someone looks that up, they're not going to immediately see you. But if you look up Convolk, even like the first 2 days after I made the name, I was the first thing to pop up. So
Right.
I just made sure to get that good old SEO and make sure everything is not bad on the internet sphere. But yeah, I guess, you know, that's what I mean. That's funny that you asked. My first show is, I think it was 2017 or 18. I think it was 2017. And it was definitely 2017. It was in like the summer. It was like March or further. March 3rd. I don't know, whatever. February. But I thought it was a summer. I don't know. It was hot. It was in LA. And 2 people showed up to see me at like this really, really long list of different underground artists that kind of helped me get my own first show. And there was like 7 or 8 people in the audience. There was nobody there basically. And there were just 2 people there that were like, "Hey man, we're here to see you." And I was just like, "Wow, that's really cool," you know. But it's just like, it's so funny because I was super nervous, and then I was like, "There's no one there," and I'm like, "Why am I nervous? There's no one here," and you know, no one gave a shit. So it was super cool to see how, from, you know, just having 2 people, you know, I had a 10 people the next show, and then, you know, 25 the next show, and I'm just like, okay, well, something's happening here, you know. So, but it was, no, I liked it, man. I was grateful to have 0 people, you know, just to be on a stage is cool with me, honestly. So
Role model is a strong word, but people that you like respect, look up to, consult, talk with, get ideas off of, you know.
yeah, I like this guy on YouTube, Wes Watson. He's like a former inmate or I guess convict. I don't know what the term is. I mean, he basically he did 10 years in prison, and he went in as like, you know, this young guy with his, you know, head up his ass or whatever. I don't know, however he describes it. And he came out like super disciplined, and you know, he like turned all of his problems into, you know, power, if that makes sense. Like he turned, like, you know, he's like a really naturally angry guy, and he decided to channel that anger into like more positive things. You know, he wanted to be more, you know, he's like a great dad. He's like this loving guy who's like the scariest motherfucker you've ever seen, type of thing. And he just talks a lot on his channel about, you know, embrace the pain now. Again, something that I struggle with, that I think Bill Perkins has no issue with. It's like, or, you know, Bill Perkins, obviously, no one has an easy time just eating tuna when someone's eating pizza. But I'm saying that, like, you know, I have a real problem and like addiction almost to just
Like indulgence, yeah, like, yeah.
So this Wes Watson guy is just like super disciplined, and he talks about how, like, hey man, if you don't embrace the pain today, you're going to feel the pain tomorrow. And it's always worse to feel the pain tomorrow when you're older than it is to feel it now. And I'm just like, man, you know, fuck, I really, you know, I look up to this guy, you know, I respect him. He's like a family oriented man with like strong values. He's like a strong guy mentally, physically. And it's like, that's something I definitely want to be like. And as far as musicians go, dude, there's so many artists, you know, Tom York, fucking, Damon Albarn from Gorillaz, you know, all these guys that I am just in, Trent Reznor. I'm just so in awe of them, and how they create their own sound and whatever like that. As far as creativity, that's how I want to be more like them in terms of just experimenting and really working and being obsessive almost with this music stuff. I want to be more like Bill or Wes or any of these other myriad examples I can provide of people that are just they have their shit together. And I think that if you can combine that of having your shit together and then like working on your passion, that's how I think truly great things are made, right? Like Michelangelo painting the Sistine Chapel over a period of 10 years. That didn't happen because he was undisciplined, but just had passion, or vice versa. It happened because he was probably hyper disciplined enough to continue the same project for 10 fucking years, and also was so passionate and in love with it that he continued the same project for 10 years, And now I would say the Sistine Chapel is like one of the most ornate, beautiful pieces of art that humanity's ever produced, right? So I'm just saying that it's like combining those two things is, I think, how you reach the pinnacle of success. Same with Landon, dude. Same with anyone who's super successful at anything. They make it their obsession and then they add on discipline. They're not just blindly obsessed with it with no structure, So it's like, that's my issue, is that I can be blindly obsessed, but I just have none of the structural support that I need, So that's what I'm working on.